July 1972, Operation Motorman. July began with the UDA and the British Army arguing about a no-go area at Ainsworth Avenue, Belfast. The following day, the Royal Ulster Constabulary forwarded a file about the killings on Bloody Sunday to the Director of Public Prosecutions for Northern Ireland. The Attorney-General made a statement about this file on the 1st of August 1972. One of the biggest political talking points in July was when Gerry Adams, who had been released from detention for the purpose, was part of a delegation that went to London for talks with the British government on the 7th of July. The IRA delegation held direct talks with William Whitelaw and other Northern Ireland office ministers in the Chelsea home of Minister of State for the North, Mr. Paul Channon. The IRA delegation also included Seamus Toomey, Sean McStephen, Daithí O'Connell, Ivor Bell and Martin McGuinness. The talks failed, and the breakdown in the IRA ceasefire finally occurred because of a dispute over the allocation of houses in the Suffolk area, and the IRA and the British Army became involved in gun battles in Horn Drive, Belfast. The Bloody Friday bombings on the 21st of July 1972 were part of a decision by the IRA to step up its campaign to try to bring ordinary life in the city to an end. We'll cover Bloody Friday further down. Incidentally, on the same day, 2 British Army captains were captured while off duty by an IRA patrol in Derry. The 2 officers were interrogated and released unharmed 18 hours later. The British Army set up a board of inquiry on the issue. The ceasefire between the Provisional IRA and the British Army came to an end on the 9th of July. The British Army had prevented Catholic families who had been intimidated by loyalists from their homes in Rathcoole from moving into empty houses on Lenadoon Avenue. There was a confrontation between the crowd and soldiers who fired rubber bullets. Following this, the IRA opened fire on the troops, thus ending the ceasefire. It was on the 10th of July that Secretary of State for Northern Ireland William Whitelaw admitted that secret talks had taken place with the IRA. In a statement at the House of Commons in London, he covered 3 key points. Confirmed that he had held talks with provisional leaders in London on the previous Friday. Blame for the ending of the truce fairly and squarely on the provisionals who must now take the consequences. And announced the government's intention to carry on the war with the IRA with the utmost vigour. Another huge political bombshell on the 22nd of July was the notion of redrawing the border and possible population transfer. A document that was released to the public in January 2003 contains an outline contingency plan which envisaged that areas where there were Catholic majorities would be ceded to the Republic. The plan also envisaged that there would be forced movement of approximately 1/3 of the population across the new border. More records released in January 2003 show a letter from Ronnie Custis, then with the Ministry of Defence, to Christopher Roberts, then with the Prime Minister's office on the 26th of July about additional rules of engagement for British soldiers in Northern Ireland. The letter contained 2 key points of interest. Soldiers may fire without warning if there is no other way to protect themselves or those whom it is their duty to protect from the danger of being killed or seriously injured. For this operation only, a company commander may order the firing of heavy weapons, such as Carl Gustaf, against positions from which there is sustained hostile firing, if he believes that this is necessary for the preservation of the lives of the soldiers or of other persons whom it is his duty to protect. In deciding whether or not to use heavy weapons, full account must be taken of the risk that the opening of fire may endanger the lives of innocent persons. Monday the 31st of July saw the introduction of Operation Motorman. The operation took place in the early hours of the morning with the aim of retaking the no-go areas controlled by residents, including Irish Republican paramilitaries, that had been established in Belfast and other urban centres. In Derry, Operation Carcan, or Carcan, initially proposed as a separate operation, was executed as part of Motorman. Operation Motorman was the biggest British military operation since the Suez Crisis of 1956 and the biggest in Ireland since the Irish War of Independence. In the days before the 31st of July, about 4,000 extra troops were brought into Northern Ireland. Almost 22,000 soldiers were involved, including 27 infantry and 2 armoured battalions, aided by 5,300 soldiers from the local Ulster Defence Regiment. Several Centurion AVRE demolition vehicles, derived from the Centurion tank and fitted with bulldozer blades, were used. They were the only heavy armoured vehicles to be deployed operationally by the British Army in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. The tanks had been transported to Northern Ireland on board the amphibious landing ship HMS Fearless and were operated with their turrets traversed to the rear and main guns covered by tarpaulins. This quick military build-up alerted the provisional IRA and official IRA that a major operation was being planned. According to local MP Ivan Cooper and others, the IRA left Derry's no-go areas the day before the operation. The operation began at about 4 a.m. and lasted for a few hours. In no-go areas, such as Free Derry, sirens were sounded by residents to alert others of the incursion. The British Army used bulldozers and Centurion AVREs to break through the barricades before flooding the no-go areas with troops in smaller, lighter armoured vehicles. Neither the provisional IRA nor the official IRA attempted to hold their ground. Small-scale operations were carried out in other places like Lurgan, Armagh, Colisland and Newry. RAF Canberra bombers were employed to search for arms dumps through false colour imagining. By the end of the day, Derry and Belfast had been cleared of no-go areas, but the army remained cautious when operating in staunchly Republican districts. Casement Park in Anderson's Town, the main stadium of the Ulster GAA, was occupied by the 19th Regiment Royal Artillery. Shootings in July 1972. Strap yourself in. There was an insane amount of violence on the streets of Northern Ireland in July. July 1st, an English civilian visitor, Paul Jobling, 19, was found hooded and shot dead on waste ground, Westway Drive, Glencairn, Belfast. It is thought the UDA was responsible. July 1st, a Catholic civilian, Daniel Hayes, 40, was found shot dead in a playground at the predominantly loyalist Penrith Street, Shankill, Belfast. A witness who lived nearby said he saw 2 men take a third out of a car and into the playground. The car driver said to the witness, "You are all right. It's the UDA." He then heard 5 shots. July 2nd, 2 Catholic civilians, James Howell, 31, and Gerard McCrea, 27, were found hooded and shot dead in Belfast. Their bodies were found in different locations, but it was believed they were killed together. Howell was found in McCrea's car, Cavour Street, off Old Lodge Road, Belfast. McCrea was found at Forthriver Road, Glencairn, Belfast. It is believed the UDA was responsible. July 2nd, 2 Protestant civilians, Hugh Clawson, 39, and David Fisher, 30, were killed by Republican paramilitaries. Both men were found shot on waste ground off Cliftonville Road, Belfast. July 3rd, the UVF shot dead a Catholic civilian, John O'Hanlon, 38, and dumped his body off Twickenham Street, Belfast. Why? July 4th, the IRA issued a statement where they reported the death of volunteer Dennis Quinn, shot and killed by accident while on an IRA patrol near Coal Island, County Tyrone. July 5th, the UVF shot a Catholic civilian, Lawrence McKenna, 22, at the junction of Falls Road and Waterford Street, Lower Falls, Belfast. He died 3 days later. July 5th, 2 Protestant brothers, Peter, 19, and Malcolm, 20, Orr, were found shot by the side of the road, Carnalis, near Belfast, County Antrim. There was speculation that they were killed by loyalists because they had Catholic girlfriends. July 7th, Samuel Robinson, 19, was shot immediately after crashing into an IRA roadblock, Cavendish Street, Falls, Belfast. July 9th, a UDA member, Gerald Turkington, 32, was shot dead by the IRA in the market area of Belfast. July 9th, Spring Hill Massacre. British snipers shot dead 5 Catholics. John Dougal, 16, and David McCafferty, 15, were youth members of Republican paramilitary organisations. 3 civilians, Patrick Butler, 38, Noel Fitzpatrick, 40, and Margaret Gargan, 13, were also killed. Mr. Fitzpatrick was a Roman Catholic priest who was shot dead while trying to render aid to 13-year-old girl Margaret Gargan. 2 others were also wounded in the Spring Hill area of Belfast. All of the victims were unarmed. July 9th, 3 Protestants, Joseph Fleming, 30, Brian Macmillan, 21, and Alan Meehan, 18, were found shot in a partially burnt-out car on Little Distillery Street, off Grosvenor Road, Belfast. They were shot by Republican paramilitaries. July 9th, David Andrews, 31, was found shot at the waterworks off Cave Hill Road, Belfast. It's believed Republicans were responsible. July 9th, Angelo Fionda, 60, was shot by the British Army while driving his car at the junction of Panton Street and Falls Road, Belfast. July 10th, official IRA units were involved in a 10-hour-long gun battle with the UDA in the Lower Falls area of Belfast. July 11th, a volunteer from the official IRA youth wing, Gerard Doherty, 16, was shot dead in his house by the British Army in Belfast. July 11th, a Catholic civilian, Charles Watson, 21, was found shot dead off Carlisle Circus, Belfast. It is believed the UDA was responsible. July 11th, a British soldier, Terence Jones, 23, was shot dead while on British Army foot patrol, Great James Street, Derry. July 12th, a UDA volunteer shot dead 2 civilians inside McCabe's bar on High Street, Portadown, County Armagh. One, Jack McCabe, 48, was the pub's Catholic owner, and the other, William Cochrane, 53, was a Protestant customer. Both were shot in the head at close range. The gunman was a former RUC officer who was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murders. There were shouts of, "Keep up the fight!" from about a dozen people in the court's public gallery. July 12th, UDA and UVF members shot dead a 15-year-old Catholic civilian, David McClenaghan, in his home on Southport Street, Belfast. It was alleged that they also sexually assaulted his mother. July 12th, Colin Poots, 21, was found shot by Flush River off Springfield Road, Belfast. It's believed Republicans were responsible. July 13th. There was a series of gun battles and shootings across Belfast. The Provisional IRA shot dead 3 British Army soldiers, David Meek, 24, Kenneth Mogg, 29, and Martin Rooney, 22. And the British Army shot dead 2 civilians, Thomas Burns, 35, and Terence Toolan, 36, and a Provisional IRA volunteer, James Reed, 27. July 13th, an off-duty Catholic Ulster Defence Regiment soldier, Henry Russell, 23, was found dead at Larkfield Drive, Sydenham, Belfast. He had been burnt, stabbed, battered, and shot in the head, reputedly as an alleged informer. July 14th. There was another series of gun battles and shootings across Belfast. The Provisional IRA shot dead 3 British Army soldiers, Peter Heppenstall, 20, John Williams, 22, and Robert Williams Wynne, 24. The British Army shot dead a Provisional IRA volunteer, Louis Scullion, 27, and an official IRA volunteer, Edward Brady, 30, while a Protestant civilian, Jane McIntyre, 64, was shot dead in the crossfire. July 15th. A Catholic civilian, Felix Hughes, 35, was kidnapped, beaten, tortured, and shot dead by the UDA in a mainly loyalist area of Portadown. His body was found on the 4th of August, 1972, in a drain near Watson Street. July 15th. British soldier Kenneth Canham, 24, was shot by an IRA sniper while on British Army foot patrol, Lenadoon Avenue, Belfast. July 16th. A volunteer from the official IRA youth wing, Tobias Malloy, 18, died after being shot by the British Army with a rubber bullet in Strabane, County Tyrone. British soldiers fired rubber bullets at the funeral cortege. July 16th. In Belfast, RUC officer Robert Lavatry, 18, was killed in an IRA gun attack on his stationary patrol car, Antrim Road, Belfast. July 18th, British soldier James Jones, 18, was shot dead by an IRA sniper at the British Army base in Ballymurphy, Belfast. This was the 100th British soldier to die in the conflict. July 18th. Almost 30 shooting incidents were reported overnight by the British Army between soldiers crewing military outposts and IRA volunteers in the Bogside area of Derry. July 18th, civilian Thomas Mills, 56, was working as a night watchman at Finley's packaging factory in Ballygomartin when he was shot. The circumstances of the shooting were unclear. July 19th. The IRA shot dead a civilian Henry Gray, 71, who attempted to stop an IRA bomb attack on the White Horse Inn, Springfield Road, Belfast. July 19th. Protestant civilian Hugh Wright, 21, was found shot dead in a field off Hightown Road near Belfast. July 20th. A Protestant civilian Robert Leggett, 50, was shot dead attempting to stop an IRA bomb attack on his business premises, Springfield Road, Belfast. July 21st. The UDA shot dead a Catholic civilian Anthony Davidson, 21, at his home on Clovelly Street, off Springfield Road, Belfast. July 21st. IRA volunteer Joseph Downey, 23, was killed in a gun battle with British troops in the market area of Belfast. July 21st. Civilian Joseph Rosato, 59, was shot at his home, Deer Park Road, Old Park, Belfast, by Loyalist paramilitaries. July 22nd. Loyalist paramilitaries shot dead 2 Catholic civilians, Rosemary McCartney, 27, and Patrick O'Neill, 26. The bodies were found in an abandoned car on Forthriver Road, Glencairn, Belfast. July 22nd. Civilian Patrick O'Neill, 26, was found shot in an abandoned car, Liffey Street, Lower Old Park, Belfast. It's reported that the UDA were responsible. July 23rd. UDR soldier Robert McComb, 22, was kidnapped and shot dead by the IRA in the Ardoyne area of Belfast. July 24th. British soldier Brian Thomas, 20, was shot dead by an IRA sniper in Ballymurphy, Belfast. July 24th. The UDA shot dead a Protestant civilian, Frederick Maguire, 56, who was married to a Catholic on Mayo Street, Shankill, Belfast. He was shot dead on his way to work at a linen mill. July 24th. Civilian James Casey, 57, was shot while travelling in a car along Park Avenue, Rosemount, Derry by the British Army. July 25th. The official IRA shot a UDA volunteer, James Kenner, 19, dead while he was walking at the junction of Roden and Clifford Streets, Belfast. He was reportedly part of a loyalist mob attempting to invade a Catholic area. July 26th. British soldier David Allen, 22, was shot dead in an IRA attack on a British Army foot patrol in the Unity Flats, Belfast. July 26th. The UDA shot dead 2 Catholic civilians, Francis Corr, 52, and James McGurty, 26, in an abandoned car which they then burned on Summer Street, Lower Old Park, Belfast. July 27th. The UDA shot dead a Catholic civilian, Francis McStravick, 42, off Linfield Road, Sandy Row, Belfast. July 28th. IRA volunteer Seamus Cassidy, 22, was shot dead by a British sniper while sitting in a car outside the Starry Plough Bar in Belfast. July 28th. Catholic Philip Maguire, 55, was found shot dead in his firm's van on Carrow Reg Road, Dundonald, County Down. He was a founding member of the local credit union and a member of the paramilitary Catholic Ex-Servicemen's Association. It is believed the UDA was responsible. July 29th. The IRA opened fire on a British Army observation post in Derry's walls. July 29th. The UDA shot dead a Catholic civilian, Daniel Dunn, 19, outside his home, Blackwood Street off Ormeau Road, Belfast. July 31st. 2 people, Catholic teenager Daniel Hegarty, 15, and IRA member Seamus Bradley, 19, were shot by the British Army during an operation in Derry. The number of house searches and the number of Catholics interned were to increase over the coming months. Bombings in July 1972. Bombings in July went up a level from previous months, causing utter devastation across the country and taking many innocent lives in the process. July 10th. 5 IRA bombs exploded in commercial areas of Derry, marking the end of the 26th of June ceasefire. July 15th. British soldier John Young, 27, was killed attempting to defuse an IRA bomb by the side of the road, Silverbridge, near Crossmaglen, County Armagh. July 16th. British soldiers Terence Graham, 24, and James Lee, 25, were killed in an IRA landmine attack near Crossmaglen, County Armagh. July 19th. A 5-month-old boy, Alan Jack, was killed when an IRA car bomb exploded on Canal Street in Strabane. He was the youngest victim of the Troubles up to that point. July 21st. Bloody Friday is the name given to the events that occurred in Belfast on Friday the 21st of July. During the afternoon of Bloody Friday, the Irish Republican Army planted and exploded 22 bombs which, in the space of 75 minutes, killed 9 people and seriously injured approximately 130 others. Of the 9 people killed, 5 were civilians: William Crothers, 15, Jackie Gibson, 45, Thomas Killops, 39, Bridget Murray, 65, Margaret O'Hare, 34, and Stephen Parker, 14. 2 were British Army soldiers, Stephen Cooper, 19, and Philip Price, 27, and 1 was a UDA volunteer, William Irvine, 18. In addition to the bombs, there were numerous hoax warnings about other explosive devices which added to the chaos in the streets that afternoon. Many people believe these hoax warnings were deliberately used to reduce the effectiveness of the security forces in dealing with the real bombs. The killings and maimings had a profound impact on most people in Northern Ireland. Bloody Friday also led to the decision by the British government to implement Operation Motorman, 31st July 1972, when, in the biggest British military operation since the 1956 Suez Crisis, the British Army entered and ended the no-go areas of Belfast and Derry. The IRA officially apologised for this set of attacks in 2002. July 21st. A number of car bombs exploded in Derry. No casualties were reported. July 24th. A Chinese restaurant was destroyed by an IRA bomb in the dockside area of Derry. As British troops arrived on the scene, they were ambushed by a sniper. 1 civilian was wounded in the crossfire. July 29th. A customs caravan and a car showroom were bombed in Derry. July 31st. The IRA exploded 3 car bombs in Claudy, County Derry, killing 6 people instantly, while a further 3 people died of their injuries over the next 12 days. Those killed were Catherine Eakin, 8, James McClelland, 65, David Miller, 60, Elizabeth McElhinney, 59, Joseph McCloskey, 38, William Temple, 16, Rose McLaughlin, 52, Joseph Connolly, 15, and Arthur Home, 38. 5 of those who were killed were Catholic civilians, while the other 4 were Protestant civilians. The first bomb exploded at approximately 10:15 a.m. close to McElhinney's bar on Main Street, Claudy. 3 people died at the scene. At approximately 10:30 a.m., there were 2 further bomb explosions. The first was outside the Beaufort Hotel, Church Street. 3 people were killed by the explosion. The last bomb exploded outside the post office on Main Street. This bomb had been spotted earlier by a police officer and a member of the public. No one was killed by this bomb, but some of the people cleared from Main Street had moved around the corner to Church Street and were caught in the blast outside the Beaufort Hotel. The IRA Chief of Staff, Sean McStephen, stated local IRA units and operations staff had denied involvement in the attack. In December 2002, following a review of intelligence and other material related to the bomb explosions in Clawdy, it was revealed that Father James Chesney had been a leading member of the IRA's South Derry Brigade. Derry politician Ivan Cooper of the SDLP stated in 2002 that the IRA and Father James Chesney, a Catholic priest from the nearby parish of Desert Martin, were involved in the attack. Cooper stated, "Within a couple of days, a man lurked like a scared rabbit outside one of my constituency offices. He told me the IRA was behind the bomb, and I had every reason to believe him. He gave no names, and I asked no names. That is the way it was then. It was dangerous to know too much. But several months later I became aware of the identities, and I have absolutely no doubt that Father Jim Chesney was involved." Some time after the bombing, Chesney was questioned by the then Bishop of Derry, Neil Farren, and later again by Farren's successor, Bishop Edward Daly. At both times, Chesney denied any involvement. Thanks for listening to this episode of Tales of the Troubles. If you enjoyed this episode or any others, please like or comment to help the algorithm reach other like-minded people. To ensure you never miss an episode, please click the follow button and enable notifications. If you have family or friends who would also like this podcast, please share. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we take a closer look at August 1972.